want to bring in StoneX Chief Market Strategist, Kathryn Rooney Vera. It's been too long, and we were sitting here chatting. One thing I love about you is you let the work speak for itself, but you also, pay attention to markets, because you were saying that you were somewhat surprised at what you saw yesterday, and that maybe you have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, well, this is certainly very interesting that the Fed was so dovish. I was not expecting that. I expected a dovish statement, but then a hawkish presser. And wow, did Jay Powell deliver the goods for risk assets. And I think what this leads me to believe is that he sees soft landing, which is de facto what we're in right now, continuing through the entirety of next year. And if that's the case, then I think equities could see an additional 10% upside. But right now, given where we are in the risk-off index, which is the VIX, the volatility index, I like holding positions, holding your tech, overweight equities to fixed income in the typical 60-40 portfolio, but start to look to protect that portfolio. You can buy put options, you can have gold, you can have still cash as juicy yielding. So, maintain your position, but I am increasing my probability for a soft landing going into next year as well.
And I think that's where the whole debate can begin, because I don't know what the textbook definition of it is. It's hard. It means different things to different people, but it seems to zero in on employment.
Correct.
And, I remember when this hiking cycle began, I did a lot of shows showing typically how many jobs would be lost. Typically, it would have been 2 million jobs. We're nowhere near that. And I think Powell is feeling, even in the worst case scenario, we won't get near that, hence the soft landing. What's your definition of a soft landing?
A soft landing, I think, should be pretty clearly defined. That's attainment of the inflation target, which is an average of 2% without inducing a recession, which generally comes with a jump in unemployment. I find it still very difficult to believe that this time is actually different, and that 525 basis points of rate hikes over a little bit over a year, a U.S. consumer that's facing an evaporation of those juicy government transfer payments that happened over the pandemic. Those are gone by the middle of the first half of next year, and high real rates, which is Fed funds minus inflation, that's starting to stick right now. We're seeing increasing delinquencies, increasing bankruptcies. People are spending, but they don't feel good. It's kind of like that spending, it makes you feel good, but you're really pessimistic. So I think there's headwinds to the consumer. So I still have my doubts that what we're seeing right now, which is de facto a soft landing, the Fed is getting to their 2% target, is sustainable. I mean, it does have we're
heading in the right direction, but we haven't stopped, and that's why it feels premature to declare victory. I mean, being optimistic is one thing, but that was a semi-victory lap that he took yesterday. And so for you, going into that, you were leaning more of a overweight fixed income, I feel, and over equities, but now you're saying, no, hang on to your equities. And let it run. Just ride it out for now.
Yes, and you can accumulate duration, which is the longer dated stuff in fixed income. Because the fact is that if you look at the 2-year Treasury bill, before yesterday, it was out earning the S&P 500 earnings yield. That says a lot. I mean, if you look at the historical relative value between equities and fixed income is at decades low cheapness versus equities. It's remarkably cheap.
And the VIX, no one knows why it's where it is.
Oh, I know why.
Some people say it's too complacent. At 20, it's too complacent. At 12, it's what?
I know why, and it's because the perfect landing is currently discounted into the market, and that's thank you to Jay Powell's euphoric victory lap yesterday.
All right. So nice seeing you.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
You too. Hey.